Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad McKay. That's Tyson Gentry. This is our Western Conference Finals preview, people. The Thunder eliminate the Nuggets in a deciding Game 7. They will now face the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think, Tyson, two potential future faces of the league here, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander against Anthony Edwards. What we're going to do is just kind of discuss and kind of how we see this thing going, right? Like, what is Rudy going to play? Can Ant do enough? Is Julius Randle going to be the guy? Things like that. So we kind of talk this through as we head into the series. Of course, there's going to be adjustments and everything that plays out, which we can potentially get into and all that stuff. And we'll give our prediction at the end, who we think is going to advance to the NBA Finals. But Tyson, before we get on here, you were saying you're more excited for kind of like the classic, when you put up the graphic, right? Ant versus Shai. That's what you're excited for in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it helps too. I mean, they're not going to end up guarding each other, but they're both going to be having the ball in their hands a ton, and they're going to be playing guard. And, maybe Alex Caruso is able to get away with fouling Anthony Edwards every single time down the court, because that was a great strategy in Game 7. Worked perfectly for the Thunder, and I'm just kidding around. But, I think, you said these guys, like two potential faces of the NBA. I think it's one guy that the NBA would love the ratings of in Anthony Edwards, but maybe not like the repercussions of some of the things that he says. And then another guy who they would love the repercussions of Shai not ever being in the media, saying anything bad, but the personality is like, we're talking about the Canadian Jason Tatum. Like, he doesn't give you any sound bites. It's not great. So that'll be interesting. But Anthony Edwards is going to put Chet Holmgren through the hoop, in this series. And at one point, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to have a 40-point game. It's going to be beautiful.
And we can kind of look at some of that stuff here, because I know there's a lot of markets up on kind of some sports betting angles. Maybe we'll do that to close, like some of our interesting things that are catching our eye here. But Tyson, the big thing that I'm looking at coming in here, we kind of talked about it in passing here, so I want to get your thoughts. I think there's a huge coaching advantage for the Timberwolves over the Thunder. I think Chris Finch is a really good head coach. Dagenau, I think he's a solid coach, man. I don't think he gets in the way of things, but I also think that kind of is to a detriment at times, Tyson. Like, you need to be tinkering with stuff throughout a 7-game series. Like, if something's not working, like, you got to try to crank some things up. Like, the fact that it took him so long to go to Alex Caruso on Jokic, it's like, brother, like, you're lucky you even got this point. Like, Jokic could have put you guys out earlier, and it took him a while. Now, that's a little bit revisionist history, right? Like, you have the buzzer beater in Game 1, all that stuff. But I think what Finch is doing right now with the Timberwolves has been impressive the past few years. And I think I got to go edge to the Timberwolves when it comes to the coaching matchups and things like that.
I do too, but I also will say that you could flip the narrative on the Dagenau with Caruso on Jokic, because that's the benefit of the doubt some of these guys get, like Spo and Pop and the guys we know are great. We would be sitting here going, I can't believe that he had the foresight to put Alex Caruso on, a 7-foot, 300-pound center, MVP of the league, best player of the last 3 or 5 seasons. I can't believe that, he was the first one to think of this. They'd never done this when he's in the high post. And the other part is, like, Alex Caruso is uniquely equipped to not just get bullied the same way that, like, a Derek White would get shoved all the way into the stanchion if he was guarding Jokic. But I go Finch too. The fact that this is what I'll say. Julius Randle's been a bad playoff performer for every other coach that he's had in the NBA. He's playing the best basketball of his career, period, so far. And I think that you can attribute a lot of that to the fact that Julius Randle is showing up for the moment, but coaching matters, man. I think he's being put in spots to succeed that he wasn't maybe in New York.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I'm kind of circling here, Tyson, is who's going to step up for both of these teams? Because I'm looking at the Thunder here. We know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be the guy. Like you said, he's going to have a 40-point game. He's going to dominate on offense. Everything's going to run through him. Lou Dort, I don't know how much of a factor he's going to be in this one, right? Alex Caruso is offensively challenged. J-Dub, Jalen Williams, it's a fun regular season thing, Tyson. Against the Nuggets, he had some moments, but man, if that's going to be your number 2, like, how many times have we seen?
A lot of the moments were on bad passes, man. They got out and ran a lot.
So I think that you're kind of scared there. Chet has not taken that next step. I think he's still got a lot of things he's got to work on from an offensive standpoint. And Hartenstein, he can give you that little floater. He can give you the offensive putbacks, but is this a guy you can throw the ball to in the post? No, it's never been that way. He does the dirty work and things like that. So somebody's going to have to step up. Is this an Isaiah Joe series to space the floor? Is this an Aaron Wiggins series to space the floor? So you kind of get Dort out of there, although he's shooting the 3 a little bit better. and you kind of go Caruso, Wiggins, Joe, you have and Gilgeous-Alexander who can hold his own? Do you go a little bit smaller? I'm curious about that from the Thunder perspective. And from the Timberwolves, Tyson, is this a Rudy Gobert series? I have no clue because I'm going back and forth on this thing. Because if it's going to be Gobert and if the Thunder are going to try to go their Twin Towers, right, you got Holmgren and you got Hartenstein. I think Hartenstein can give Gobert some fits because he's more physical than Gobert, right? Like, but if they just go straight up Holmgren versus Gobert, they're kind of the same player, except for one guy's got a French accent. You know what I mean? One guy can shoot a three, one guy has got a French accent because they both kind of play smaller than what their height suggests. You know, Gobert can dominate when you're throwing him lobs, right? Because all he's got to do is dunk it, but he's an awful post game, an awful anything down low where you throw the ball into him. So Hartenstein, I think, can give you a little bit more from that aspect. But the guard play is what I think this will come down to, and who can dominate the most. It's going to be Shai. Everything runs through her aunt.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I think that the Thunder player that has to step up, to your point on Rudy Gobert, would have to be Chet Holmgren. Like, can we just play Rudy off the court? Because if it's Hartenstein, Rudy's going to be able to plot around. He might, finish a game with 20 rebounds. And look, they split in the regular season, and the T-Wolves, and I'm forgetting if it was like the second or third time they played, but they killed them on the board. And that was like the first time where it was like, okay, maybe that's a weakness that this Thunder team is uniquely set up to deal with if they're going to go super big. That's got to be that's the way they win the series. They got to average 50 rebounds a game, and that sounds like a ton, and it is a ton, but that's the truth. Thunder are really good. They won 60 plus games for a reason. So I would say Chet, and then I still think it's Randall. Like, I just think like if this dude can get buckets and take the pressure off Anthony Edwards, and you can talk about a bunch of other guys on the Thunder, and they're going to fall into that Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins category for me on the Thunder side, where it's like, yeah, it's always the others and the role players, and we know that. We talk about that, and so Shaq says it every halftime. It's the others that win you these games. But sometimes it is as simple as our stars have to be good enough to put the others in a position to win. I think that's where Julius Randle comes in, because I think Anthony Edwards is going to give us something special.
And if Julius Randle can be what he's been for the Timberwolves, I do think the Timberwolves have the second best player in this series. Or besides, taking like the best number two, I should say. Because I'm looking at this. Ant and Shai are going to cancel each other out. I think they're both going to be special at times. They're both going to have some struggles. I do think these are both really good defensive teams. I think we're going to see some ugly offense. I don't think we're going to see a high-scoring affair. This is going to be a grinding-out series. Who's going to be more physical? If Julius Randle can be the guy, and that's a big if for me, Tyson, because like you said, in the playoffs, sometimes it hits and a lot of times it hasn't. Because if not, Jaden McDaniels, that's going to get you a little nervous there if you're the Timberwolves. Mike Conley, veteran, but he's not putting up 20 points, right? Like, he's not that number two guy who can go off and explode. Dante DiVincenzo can. Like, he's a guy who has that pedigree, who's had that history, who can go off in a playoff series. We saw him do it for the Knicks last year. But then behind him, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, maybe he's good for a couple threes a game. Terrence Shannon, no.
He's got the family secrets.
The Timberwolves, to me, Tyson, are thin, man. Like, they're a 7-man rotation, 8 maybe, and if Gobert gets played off the court, that's concerning for me.
I agree, and I think that's what you're most worried about. But that's why your best players have to be, or are your best players, and that's why they have to do. Then this happens every playoffs. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Thunder have had, or the Timberwolves have had the hardest road. Like a Lakers team without a center, when you run out a 7'4", 94-time defensive player of the year, it's going to be easier for you than other teams to beat them. And Steph hurts his hamstring, but the T-Wolves were horrible in Game 1 against the Oklahoma City or against the Golden State Warriors. And if you do that against Oklahoma City, they're going to win the game by 40 points. And then all of a sudden, the whole thing is flipped. You got to protect home court, I think, both ways. That goes without saying. But the Thunder have shown us the ability all year long to just walk into somebody else's building and take the air out of it immediately. And the Timberwolves have shown us a little bit that they might start slow at home.
Man, I'm split here, Tyson, on what Timberwolves version we're getting. This is a 6 seed. It's a team who beat the Lakers, but like you said, Rudy Gobert returned into Bill Russell when they needed him the most, which is shocking. Best game he's ever played. And since that moment, he's turned back into Rudy Gobert. So it's like, what is this guy really giving you? And like you said, they played the Warriors team. Jimmy Butler, listen, he's had great playoff performances, right? Like, we know
15 shots.
But then he's getting outshot by Brandon Podziemski. It's like, brother, you're on the ropes here. Steph's not coming back. Like, you got to step up. And so it's like, what is going on with that Warriors thing? It feels like they're in transition. Like, is Kuminga going to get dealt? All this weird, like, little things that are coming out from the Warriors as Tyson wants his boy Kuminga coming to the Phoenix. So I'm not quite as sold on the Wolves. Now, before we did this, we talked about who's an actual contender. We both said Oklahoma City for sure. I mean, their defense is elite. I think if Oklahoma City wins this series, wins the NBA Finals, it's because of their defense. Because I have major question marks about their offense. Good thing for them is they are facing a Timberwolves team who I also think is offensively challenged at times. And so I do think, Tyson, and we'll get into our predictions here. I think this is going to be a grinding series, but I got the guys from OKC going through.
That is great for you. I got Mike Conley getting to play in the NBA Finals. I got Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo getting dealt from the Knicks, having to see Dante DiVincenzo all year, has to see all of his best friends play together, and he might be waiting for him in the NBA Finals. I got the Timberwolves.
How many games? Let's make this official.
6.
Timberwolves in 6.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, I love that. That is awesome. Okay, so Tyson's got Timberwolves in 6. We'll get that on the official docket here. I got Thunder at 6.
So we're going to do an Eastern Conference preview here too. If Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or Tyrese Halliburton win the championship, do they become the best player in the history of their franchise? Because I'm not going to put Brunson in there because, like, the Knicks, like Willis Reed and those guys, they won rings. And so you can't, one championship isn't going to put in there. But the other 3, they don't have one. But does he jump KG?
Anthony Edwards, yes. If he wins, if he brings home a title to Minnesota, he will be the best player in that franchise.
If Hallie brings one, does he jump Reggie Miller?
Probably. No, I think he's not going to have the stats quite as much. I think he's going to have to play out his career there. By the time it's done, I think everybody will look back and say Halliburton was the best.
And then Shai jumps Russ.
Shai jumps Russ. I think that's a quick I think people will be happy about that. They'll be happy to move on to Shai.
That feels like the easiest one out of this whole thing. But, I mean, these guys are 25. We might have somebody take over a franchise GOAT mantle who can't even rent a car.
Let's get into some money-making time, Tyson. Let's just kind of look over some stuff here that I'm curious to get some thoughts on, and we'll just kind of run through this really quick. So if I take Thunder -1.5 on the series spread, that's -162. Tyson thinks the Wolves are going to win. That's +490. Wolves in 6 is +490. So just kind of keep that in mind here. Not official bets or anything like that. We're just kind of giving our thoughts here. But I will say that this one is interesting to me. The total points and the total threes. Anthony, you can't parlay them together, but it is interesting to notice that Shai is -260 for most points in the series. Edwards -220 for the most assists or for the most 3-pointers in the series. I think those are playable numbers. And I know like some people are like, oh, the juice and all that stuff. Like, I think there's a pretty high edge on that, to be completely honest with you, Tyson. Most rebounds that I'm looking at here, Gobert's -150.
Yeah.
I'm taking a look at Hartenstein at +420.
Yeah, I think so too.
Offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. If Rudy gets played off the floor, then you're going to have to rely on Naz Reid. Now, this is also like Hartenstein's going to have to play, right? Like he also can't get played off. But I think he gives them something. So that's something I'm circling there. And then for most assists in the series, Shai -185. I think that's he's a rightful favorite. Jalen Williams +850 for the Thunder is another look that I have if you're looking for a long shot. If he's not going to be the scorer and if Shai is going to be the scorer, then Jalen Williams is going to have to do something and he could be the potential setup guy. 850 is a number that's intriguing to me.
Yeah, 2 kind of juicy numbers that if you're into some of the specials, the full series long, Jalen Williams will score 1+ field goal assisted by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in every game is +450. And then Anthony Edwards will score 1+ field goal assisted by Julius Randle is +600. And I think Julius Randle is a sneaky guy here to average 6-7 assists. And I think Anthony Edwards is getting that thing up at +600. I think that's worth a fly.
I like that, Tyson. All right, so that's not the official stuff that we have circled, but if we do play any of that, if we're like getting off here, I'm like, all right, we're actually going to make some of that actionable. Where can they find that, Tyson?
It'll be in the Discord app. Group name, as I said, what I said. Tons of different stuff in there. We got the NBA obviously here, but we got the NFL's right around the corner. College football is right around the corner. Baseball is rocking and rolling. WNBA stuff, like whatever you're into, there's a channel for you. Let us know what you're playing.
Absolutely. Like, subscribe, and share the show. Tyson already said we got the Eastern Conference Finals preview coming out. So subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. Let's smash that like button on the way out. Share it with a friend. Share it with somebody you hate, whoever it may be. We do appreciate all the support you guys give us. And we will be back with our Eastern Conference Finals preview. Till then, guys, peace.